Hey, sports porchers! It's your hockey Jesus. And I'm back with analysis of the last few games the Pittsburgh Penguins have been playing. Well, it's been about a week since I last talked to you guys, and thought it'd be good for an update considering the last three games were not great, not great at all. The Pittsburgh Penguins went 0-3 in those three games, managed to get a point against Florida, but really, did they really get a point? Yeah, I guess they did. But all things considered, I think this is just the Penguins reverting to the norm. Tristan Jarry coming back down to earth. Looks like his save percentage in the last few games dropped to 780. It was around 950. So there you go again. Alex Nedeljkovic played and had a 3.47 goals against, which with a 906 save percentage. The save percentage isn't terrible, but boy, I tell you what, those goals against. Jarry's goals against was 6.21 during that same time frame. So as you can see, this is what happens with the Pittsburgh Penguins this time of year. They're out of the playoffs, although officially not eliminated. I just have to say that loud and clear. Not eliminated. They absolutely are definitely in the area of where you would say eliminated. So what did the Pittsburgh Penguins do? Well, first, let me say congratulations to Sidney Crosby. Anytime you can break a Wayne Gretzky record, it's absolutely worth mentioning. 20th consecutive season that Sidney Crosby will have scored 1 point average per game. It's just an incredible feat. I don't actually call it a record because I don't think it's a record, but I do think it's a hell of an accomplishment because A, he's the only one ever to do it for 20 full seasons, and B, he's got a good shot at doing it again next season. I mean, he could easily do it for another season or two. But I'm ahead of myself a little bit just because you know what a big fan I am of Sidney Crosby. I love what he brings to the NHL. I love what he has brought to this franchise, Pittsburgh Penguins franchise, not to mention the 3 Stanley Cups, just everything as an individual, as a person. Good for Sidney Crosby, just an absolute great accolade. Hey, the only next celebration that we have this season could be Gretzky losing his goal scoring record to Ovi. Ovi's 5 away from tying, 6 to take the lead, and it's like 11, 12 games left. And I'm going to be at the last one. So come on. I'd love to see it happen in Pittsburgh. I'd love to see it happening against Jarry, actually. That would be pretty cool. But I digress. So the Pittsburgh Penguins did manage to get Sid his points. And immediately they decided it's time to call up some guys. So Ville Koivunen is coming up with Rutger McGroarty. We saw McGroarty early in the season play some. And wasn't great. Didn't really get too much of a time up here, but they decided to send him back down. We haven't seen him since the first 5 games. So I think it's going to be great to see those guys on the ice. Let me just show you something that I have. This is from, let me pull it up here. This is from a site that basically says these are the guys who are going to be starting next. You can see that you have McGroarty playing on a line with Sid and Rust. And Raquel actually centering the second line. I guess they expect Gino to be out for a little while. He has been out the last 2 games. So that's probably why they're bringing these guys up. So I guess they're going to give Raquel a chance at centering that second line. That's really interesting because, that first line's been killer all year long. So it'll be really interesting to see how Rax does. With Koivunen on his wing there. Both these guys, Koivunen and McGroarty, shoot left, so it makes sense they're going to be on the left-hand side. They don't have a number for Koivunen, but he's been wearing number 41 for Wilkes-Barre, so I expect that number right there to be number 41. And as you can see, the rest of the guys are guys that we've known who haven't played great, haven't played bad. Bemstrom's played on and off. Lazat's been terrible as of late. And, of course, you have to play Hayes because his contract's just way too much. In that last 4 games, let's look at see who's been scoring. Looks like Crosby's got 6 points in 4 games. Rust has also got 6 points in 4 games. I mentioned it with the guys last Monday. I said, Rust, I thought he hit a wall. I thought he was turning in the garbage. And what do you know? He turns it on for 2 sweet goals in the one game and has had 4 goals in the last 4 games, 6 points in the last 4 games. So my apologies to you, Brian Rust. I don't know why I keep doubting you and your ability to score, especially when you're playing with Sid. You're starting to get that chemistry that Jake once had with him. And I don't know. I think it's just the way it goes. Sometimes you have some bad games. Other than that, nobody else has really been scoring for the Penguins. Looks like Grizzlick has 4 points, all 4 assists, and that's really it. And most of the other guys have not been scoring. And without secondary scoring, with your goalie play the way it's been, it's just not going to be a good situation for winning. And that's what's happened with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And it's to be expected. I think that essentially this is what you're going to expect from the Pittsburgh Penguins from week to week. It's going to be up, it's going to be down, but they essentially are out of the playoffs. Let me pull up. I don't want to pull that up again. I want to pull up my statistics. Let me get the right screen. Stop screen. And let me pull up my trusty share screen. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to share with you guys. This is what's been happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins the last few games. As you know, they were 5-2. They dropped to 5-5. Right now projected for 76 points on the season and 69 points right now. Not good. Not expected to be a playoff team. You can see the next teams they play: Ottawa in the playoff spot, St. Louis in a playoff spot, Dallas firmly in a playoff spot. Then they play at Chicago and versus Chicago. This Ottawa game is sandwiched in between another 3-game road trip, and then it looks like 3 of the last 4 are at home. I'll actually be at the Chicago game and this Washington game. So actually, of the 3 of the 4, I'll be at the last 2 of the last 3. And Boston's pretty much out of it. This New Jersey game might be fairly interesting. New Jersey's dropping a little bit, but I think they're going to be in the playoffs. Let's look at who is currently in the playoff hunt, even though your Pittsburgh Penguins are not. So last week, it looks like it was Washington, Carolina, New Jersey, Ottawa, Montreal. Oh, yeah, I better bring up the Atlantic. Florida and Tampa Bay up there at the top. And what has changed? Well, let's go to the wild card. So down here in the wild card race, looks like it was Ottawa. They're still there. They were trending at 94 points with 67 games to play. 4 games later, they're trending the same. So that basically means they've been winning, they've been losing. Montreal, however, got on a 2-game win streak, but somehow, Montreal went on a 5-game losing streak. They were losing back here. They were losing ground back here, and now find themselves out of a playoff position. And the Rangers have also lost 2, and the New York Islanders have lost 3 in a row. They're playing this afternoon, despite this is kind of weird, but it happens in hockey. Despite losing 3 in a row, New York Islanders could actually jump into a playoff spot by beating Tampa Bay this afternoon. That game's currently on. Don't go watch it yet. Finish watching me first. And then, so you can see Columbus are the big winners. They basically jumped a little bit. They won 2 in a row. And I don't know what to say. I think all these teams are still going to be in it. Columbus, New York Islanders, Montreal, the Rangers. I'm keeping them in it, even though the Rangers have 73 games. So you can see they're only trending for 84 points. I think one of these 4 teams is going to go on a win streak. It could be Montreal. I don't think they're that bad to lose 7 in a row. I think they could get back on a winning streak now. It's kind of what happened with Columbus. I think they were losing big, and then they came back to win 2 in a row and found themselves back in a spot. So I still contend. I don't think Detroit's in it. None of these teams down here, including our Pittsburgh Penguins, not in the race. So I think that's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out. You can see in the pole position still is Washington. Up here, Florida's got the first place in the Atlantic, but what a race that is. Toronto second, Tampa Bay third. I can tell you all three of these teams want to be in that first spot because they would much not rather play against each other than they would play against, say, Ottawa or Columbus. Absolutely, would this is going to be a dog race to see who wins the Atlantic, and I think all those teams are going to want to continue to win. You can see they all have 72 games played, so they're all tied up. Tampa Bay right now, they're the ones who are playing the Islanders this afternoon, so they probably want to beat the Islanders. So that should be a heck of a game. That's where I'm jumping to after I'm done with this message for you guys out there in hockey land. You're probably already watching the game, but that's okay. You can catch me on the reround. Let's look at the West. So the West really hasn't changed much. Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado, Vancouver, Edmonton, LA, all the same. But the wild cards got a little wild. Minnesota still there, still trending for 98 points. That's going to get them there. But look what happened to St. Louis. Let's go back to even the week before. So the week before, March 15th, Seattle is kind of down here in the 86 range. And even over here, trending 81 down here, they really jumped up their game. They are on an 8-game win streak, I believe it is. Yep, 8-game win streak right now. So they find themselves in that last spot, trending at 94 points. That's been an incredible run for them. Bennington's been on. They got a new coach. Since the Four Nations tournament, they've just been lights out. They've been playing really great defensive hockey. And that's really what it takes this time of year. And they've gotten some timely scoring. Cairo and others have just been really on a mission to take St. Louis into that last playoff spot. I can't wait to watch them play against the Penguins just to see how much they've changed, because the last time they played against the Penguins, they looked like dog doo-doo. And that was, several months ago, but that's what can happen at the end of the season. So as you can see, Minnesota, St. Louis, I think Minnesota's a lock here. 98, trending to 98 points. I think they definitely got it. I don't think they're going to catch Edmonton, although here's Edmonton here. I probably should have switched these around, but no big deal. Edmonton's actually in third place now. They've got their superstars Hurt and Draisaitl and McDavid. So they're trending down, but they're not going to trend out of the playoffs. No way, no shape, no form. I think they would like to stay here. Although if they drop down here and had to play Vegas or Winnipeg, honestly, I don't think it matters. I think Minnesota playing Winnipeg, probably end up playing Vancouver Golden Knights. I don't know. I wouldn't want to play Vancouver. They've been good most of the season. And that's the way it's shaken out in the West. So in the playoff spots, let's see what has happened since last time. This is a little bit busy, but essentially these are your worst teams here. San Jose. Let me slide this over a little bit. I can't. San Jose, Chicago, Nashville. These are your teams in the playoffs down here, 1 through 16, up to Calgary. I haven't talked much about Calgary because this is where they've been pretty much all season, trying to stay in the hunt. They're right behind St. Louis. I think that's going to be a little bit interesting, only because you can see here Calgary has 3 games on hand on St. Louis, and St. Louis is on a win streak, unbelievable. So if Calgary can get on a win streak of their own with that rookie goalie they have in the Woofer, it's very possible that they could overtake St. Louis. So I think that's great. Here's the thing that I wanted to show you guys that I don't think anybody else is doing. Let's look at what the preseason ranks were, shall we? So in the preseason ranks here, I'm just going to sort this again because I think it's much better this way. Let me sort it. Data. Let me sort this sucker by preseason rank. And okay, that's better. So in the preseason, you can see Edmonton was the number 1 ranked team. They're currently at 11. Now this is in the NHL, but this is based off of playoff predictions. They had a 93.9% chance, they thought, at the beginning of the season. And right now, they're currently ranked 11. I count that as a disappointing season. Anything that's more of a 10-place fall, but Edmonton doesn't matter. They could definitely make that a non-disappointing season just by making it back to the Stanley Cup Finals. But I think right now, I think it's safe to say that they've had a little bit of a disappointing season. Dallas, Carolina, as expected. Colorado, that's slightly disappointing. I don't think they've been as consistent as they wanted to be. Florida's been right there all season. Predicted they end up fifth. They're in sixth. Here's where it starts to get fun. New York Rangers, what a disappointment. They were predicted to end up sixth. They had an 81% chance, 81.6% chance of making the playoffs. And now they're fighting for their lives. Same with Vancouver, another very disappointing season. These two teams are probably the most disappointing teams of all the NHL this year. That being said, both of them still have a chance to make it. But according to preseason predictions, they should have been in it no matter what. Vegas, they have they had a good chance at making the playoffs, and they've done better than that. This is the team you want to look out for. A team that was predicted to make the playoffs and has done better and has put themselves in a better position to make the playoffs. They could be a team to look for in the playoffs, absolutely. Here are two teams that are absolutely disappointed. Well, the Kings, they're expected to be ninth, 12th, they're ninth, so they're playing a little bit better than expected. I agree with that. Nashville and Boston, absolute disappointments. Expected both to make the playoffs. Nashville's the third worst team in the league. And Boston has I think they've lost 7 in a row and just have fallen apart since the midseason and really since the Four Nations tournament. They've been absolutely awful team. Winnipeg, once again, a surprising team. Expected to barely make the playoffs. They might be the President Trophy winner. So unbelievable. Good season for Winnipeg. Of course, everybody's holding their breath because they haven't done anything in the playoffs ever, and maybe this is their year. Hard to know. Minnesota, they're doing as expected. They were expected to shoot for a playoff position. That's where they are right now. Same with the Islanders. They're a little bit below where they want to be, but still fighting for that playoff position. Some of these teams have disappointed, including our Pittsburgh Penguins, but slightly. I mean, they were on the bubble, and now they're out. Same with Detroit, Buffalo. St. Louis, a little bit of a surprise. They've been better than expected. And Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, you can see here, and they were both expected to be better than they were. But I think Philadelphia would say they've actually had some bright spots, and Mitchkov coming up. So I think they think their future is bright. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh, and of course, I'm sure you all know Tortorella got fired. So I think that's a good move for that organization, getting rid of Tortorella. He's such a cancer. I just don't like him as a coach. And eventually they were going to have to get rid of him. Here are the teams that are really surprising. Utah is playing as expected. Same with Chicago and San Jose. Them in a bad way. They predicted to be the last, and they were. Chicago, slightly above below where they were expected. And Montreal, how about them? They were expected to be 28th. They're in 20th. They could improve upon that. They can be a playoff team. But how about this? 26-point change. They were a preseason rank of 27th. 27th. That's ridiculous. That's one of the lowest numbers. And here they are sitting at number 1, right behind Winnipeg. Clearly, Washington's the biggest surprise of the season. And I don't know. People missed it. I'm included in that. But when you have young talent on your team, and you bring up an unproven coach who believes in a system, and everybody buys into it, and those legs get going in the right direction, I can tell you that's a really good recipe for success. I've seen that success with the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2008 and 2009, a young team. Now they've had superstars, and I guess you could say Ovi's a superstar, but he's kind of a one-man band right now. And he's going to have to pick it up if they're going to have to do anything in the playoffs. So as you can see, we're starting to gear up. 8 games to go for the Penguins. Some teams have 10, some have 11, as you can tell from my graphics there, from my spreadsheets. I love the spreadsheets. I'm the hockey Jesus, and I love spreadsheets. That's my engineering background coming out. I can't help it. It's going to bleed through every now and then. So, hey, NHL fans, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm trying to bring some other things into the mix now that the Pittsburgh Penguins are out, but I'm going to be looking forward to seeing Ville Koivunen play with Rutger McGroarty on those 2 lines. I think it's going to be fun. This is the future for the Penguins and NHL. Hockey playoffs are right around the corner. I know you're going to love it. I love it. I'll catch you in the next one.